Miles Sampa betrays opposition alliance after Chawama victory. Zambia politics explodes. The Chawama by-election was meant to showcase opposition strength, but now, cracks have appeared. Miles Sampa has openly criticized the FDD, signaling a serious split in opposition ranks. Could this fracture reshape Zambia's political landscape? Stay tuned as we break down the fallout from Chawama. YouTube News documentary script. Miles Sampa betrays opposition alliance after Chawama victory. Zambia politics explodes. Part 1 Dramatic hook, opening 60 to 90 seconds. Good day viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, what a week it's been across the African continent. From economic reforms in West Africa to political shakeups in the South, there's been no shortage of stories demanding our attention. But today, we're diving deep into one story that has absolutely set Zambian politics ablaze. Lead story announcement. Today's story comes from the heart of Lusaka, where a political earthquake has shattered what many believed was an unbreakable alliance. We're talking about Miles Sampa, the man who once stood shoulder to shoulder with the opposition, the man who promised unity against the ruling establishment, and the stunning betrayal that has left Zambia's political landscape in absolute chaos. Dramatic narrative hook. Picture this, the streets of Chawama constituency erupt in celebration. Victory has been secured. The opposition has won. And in that moment of triumph, when solidarity should be at its peak, when brothers in arms should be embracing their shared success, something sinister is already in motion. Behind closed doors, in whispered conversations, a plan is being executed, a plan that will tear apart the very fabric of Zambia's opposition movement. But here's what keeps political analysts awake at night: was this betrayal months in the making? Were there secret negotiations happening while Sampa was publicly pledging allegiance to the opposition cause? Who else knew about this calculated move, and more importantly, who benefits from this spectacular political demolition? And the questions that haunt every Zambian voter tonight: if a political alliance can crumble this quickly after victory, what does that say about the promises made during campaigns? If leaders can pivot so dramatically when it serves their interests, whom can the people actually trust? And perhaps most chilling of all, is this betrayal just the beginning of something far more sinister in Zambian politics? Factual foundation. The revelation came to light in the immediate aftermath of the Chawama constituency by-election, a contest that had captivated the entire nation and was seen as a critical referendum on the opposition's unity and strength against the ruling United Party for National Development. Chawama, a densely populated constituency in Lusaka, had become the political battleground of the year. The by-election, necessitated by the nullification of the previous election results, was scheduled for early January 2026. Multiple opposition parties, including the United Kwacha Alliance, the Patriotic Front faction, and independent opposition voices, had rallied behind a unity candidate, with Miles Sampa playing a prominent role in mobilizing support and presenting a united front. The victory, when it came on January 15, 2026, was decisive. The opposition candidate secured a commanding win with approximately 58% of the vote, sending shockwaves through the ruling party's ranks. Celebrations erupted across not just Chawama, but opposition strongholds throughout Zambia. Social media exploded with congratulatory messages, with Miles Sampa himself posting triumphant statements about the people's victory and the power of unity. But within 48 hours, cracks began to appear. On January 17, whispers started circulating in Lusaka's political circles about a mysterious meeting that had taken place the previous night. Sources close to State House suggested that Miles Sampa had been seen entering through a back entrance, alone, without his usual security detail or political handlers. By January 18, today, the whispers had become a roar. Multiple credible sources confirmed that Miles Sampa had not only met with senior UPND officials but had allegedly agreed to a political realignment that would see him and a significant faction of his supporters defect from the opposition alliance. The terms of this arrangement reportedly included promises of ministerial positions, financial backing for future political endeavors, and protection from ongoing investigations into alleged financial irregularities from his time as Lusaka mayor. Opposition leaders, blindsided by the news, scrambled to convene emergency meetings. By noon today, what had been hushed conversations became public warfare, with opposition party spokespersons issuing blistering statements condemning what they called the ultimate act of political prostitution and a betrayal of biblical proportions. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. The first public confirmation came from an unexpected source, a junior UPND official who spoke to journalists on condition of anonymity, but whose testimony has since been corroborated by multiple sources. Anonymous UPND official, recorded interview. Look, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but people need to know the truth. Miles Sampa met with the president's inner circle on the night of January 17th. I was there, okay? Not in the room, but I was coordinating security. The meeting lasted, about 3 hours. When he came out, he was smiling. Not the kind of smile you'd expect from someone who just had a confrontational meeting. It was the smile of someone who just closed a very favorable deal. Question: what makes you believe it was a deal rather than just discussions? Because the very next morning, documents were being prepared. I saw them being drafted. Appointment letters, security clearances, budget allocations. You don't prepare those things unless something has already been agreed upon. Opposition Alliance spokesperson, press conference statement. Shortly after these revelations surfaced, the United Kwacho Alliance held an emergency press conference. Their spokesperson, Martha Mushipe, delivered a scathing indictment. Miles Sampa has committed the most grievous act of political treachery this nation has witnessed in a generation. Let me be crystal clear: while we were celebrating with the people of Chawama, while we were thanking volunteers who had worked tirelessly for this victory, Miles Sampa was already negotiating the terms of his betrayal. We have evidence, we have witnesses, and we have documentation that proves he entered into discussions with the UPND even before the final vote count was announced. This was not a spontaneous decision. This was calculated, premeditated political sabotage. Leaked text message read during press conference. Ms. Mushipe then proceeded to read what she claimed was a text message exchange between Sampa and an unnamed UPND minister, dated January 14, one day before the election. The text reads: "Tomorrow we deliver Chawama. The day after, we discuss my future." And the response: "Your future is secure. Deliver your end, and doors will open." Ladies and gentlemen, this is not politics, this is conspiracy. Miles Sampa leaked audio recording. Perhaps most damning of all is an audio recording that emerged earlier today, allegedly captured during the January 17th meeting. While its authenticity has not been independently verified, the voice is unmistakably similar to Miles Sampa's. I've given the opposition enough time. I've stood with them through thick and thin. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what's the endgame? And I'm telling you, the endgame is to be where power actually resides. So, if you're asking me if I'm ready to make this move, the answer is yes. I'm ready. But I need guarantees. I need positions for my people. I need assurances that past issues are buried. Response from UPND government. The government's response has been notably measured. Information Minister Cornelius Mwitwa addressed journalists this afternoon. The UPND is a democratic party that welcomes anyone who shares our vision for Zambia. We do not view political realignment as betrayal, we view it as individuals making choices about where they can best serve the Zambian people. If Miles Sampa or anyone else wishes to join the governing party, they are welcome to do so through proper channels. However, we will not comment on alleged private meetings or unverified recordings. When pressed on whether positions had been promised to Sampa, Mwitwa responded curtly, "This government does not negotiate positions. We appoint qualified individuals based on merit." Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. The implications of this betrayal extend far beyond the personal ambitions of one man. What we're witnessing is a potential fracturing of Zambia's opposition movement at a critical moment in the nation's democratic journey. Political analyst perspectives. Dr. Sishawa, a prominent political analyst and historian, offered his assessment. This incident exposes the fundamental weakness of coalition politics in Zambia. These alliances are often marriages of convenience rather than unions built on shared ideology. When personal ambition outweighs collective purpose, betrayal becomes inevitable. What concerns me most is the message this sends to ordinary Zambians that their votes can be traded, that victory can be undermined, and that political promises are essentially meaningless. Professor Munandulo from Cornell University, who has been following Zambian politics for decades, added a more systemic critique. The problem here is not just Miles Sampa. The problem is a political ecosystem that incentivizes defection. When the ruling party has access to state resources, when ministerial positions come with enormous financial benefits, when staying in opposition means political and economic marginalization, you create conditions where betrayal becomes rational from an individual perspective, even if it's devastating for democratic development. Opposition party reactions. The reaction within opposition parties has been swift and bitter. The Patriotic Front, through spokesperson Emmanuel Mwamba, declared, "This confirms everything we've been warning about. The UPND is systematically buying off opposition leaders, fragmenting our movement, and consolidating authoritarian control." Today it's Miles Sampa. Tomorrow it could be others. We must remain vigilant and purge our ranks of those whose loyalty can be purchased. Socialist Party leader Fred Membe took a more philosophical approach. Betrayal is as old as politics itself. What we must do is build movements, not personalities. As long as we depend on individual leaders rather than collective organization, we will continue to be vulnerable to this kind of opportunism. Legal and procedural questions. Legal experts have raised questions about the implications for electoral law and party registration. Attorney Linda Kasanda noted, if these allegations are true, if Sampa was negotiating with the ruling party even before the by-election concluded, there are serious questions about campaign finance laws, voter fraud, and the integrity of the electoral process. Did he use opposition resources while secretly aligned with the government? Did he mislead voters about his intentions? These are not just ethical questions, they may have legal dimensions. Unresolved issues. Several critical questions remain unanswered. First, how many other opposition figures are involved in similar negotiations? Anonymous sources suggest Sampa may not be acting alone, and that other defections could be announced in coming days. Second, what specific promises were made to Sampa, and will the government honor them? The history of political defections in Zambia shows that promised rewards don't always materialize. Third, how will this affect the opposition strategy for the 2026 general elections, now less than 8 months away? Broader systemic concerns. This betrayal connects to larger concerns about democratic consolidation in Zambia. Since independence, the country has struggled with what political scientists call neo-patrimonial politics. Systems where personal relationships and patronage networks matter more than institutional rules or ideological commitments. The Sampa betrayal is a textbook example of this dynamic. It reinforces public cynicism about politics, weakens institutional development, and makes it harder to build the kind of stable, programmatic political parties that healthy democracies require. Moreover, it raises troubling questions about accountability. If leaders can switch sides without facing consequences from their base, if victories can be immediately undermined by those who helped secure them, what incentive is there for politicians to maintain consistency or integrity? The answer, increasingly, seems to be none.